have the floor to questions. I would like to give the floor first to President Cordero for his remarks. Please.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, everyone, for being here today. The election just took place, and it's according to the middle of the mandate, the renewal of the middle of the mandate. And of course, it is in large, the next 2.5 years will be the actions of the Committee of the Regions will be developed within the context that we are living in. And this context could be characterized very simply. We are coming out of the pandemic still with the consequences of economic, social, from the economic and social point of view. We have a war that has consequences directly in Europe and has consequences also to these levels, political, social, economic. We have a situation where there is a political major challenge concerning the post-conference on the future of Europe, what we do with those conclusions, how we can help put them in practice. So this is very challenging times, and what I try to express during my interventions is there are three main ideas that in the next 2.5 years I think will drive the way my presidency will operate. The first idea, I think this is the time to defend and to express the importance of a stronger and fairer Europe for all. And this is not only relates with these common challenges that sometimes people are used for us to listen. No, but this is also about, for example, a stronger Europe concerning the internal democracy of the European process, making people more participants, more informed, making European institutions more accountable to people. That's the way to reinforce this Europe. That's the way to reinforce this democracy. The second idea about this stronger Europe relates to the idea that Europe must, I think what the current times demand is a Europe that affirms itself as a beacon of some values. And those values are namely democracy, rule of law, liberty, respect for the dignity of people. Those are values that cannot only be promoted within our barriers, within our frontiers, within our territory. Europe, this is the time for Europe to assert itself as a beacon throughout the world as its values. The third, in this stronger and fairer Europe for all, the idea that in what's relates to a fairer Europe, this strong commitment with the social dimension of the European project, and namely the way it is put in the Porto Summit commitment. I think this is a way that we can move forward in implementing, in working in these aspects. But finally, the fairer meaning also relates to the idea that, of course, we have some issues that traditionally are very important and relates with this idea of fairness. Not only about the way we treat the gender equality, the way we address the LGBTIQ challenge, but also the way we can address the citizens' concerns about their jobs, about the access they can have to health and education for their families, the way they are concerned about, am I going to have social services that help me to deal when I'm old? So Europe must also be fair, addressing these concerns, addressing these worries about the situation of our communities. At the same time, of course, it addresses the concerns of all these issues we have already mentioned. The second idea that I think the mandate will try to implement is I wouldn't mention the concern, but the challenge about cohesion policy. my belief is that cohesion policy connects to the very core, to the very essence of the European ideal. Because the fundamental idea of cohesion policy is create the conditions to leave no people behind, no region behind, no village, town behind. But I think we are all aware that cohesion policy faces several challenges. First of them is to be considered sometimes as an amount of money where you can pick up money to serve other priorities. So what this demands from my point of view is, first, the best way to defend cohesion policy is not related with European institutions. It is related with villages, regions, and cities across Europe. What I mean by that is the best way to defend it, one of the best ways, is to use it right, to use it wisely, to demonstrate in practice that it works and it can make a difference. But of course, after that, comes another dimension to defend from a European institution, is that this policy connects, as I told, with the very essence of the European project. But we cannot ignore that there are new needs. So maybe this idea of aggiornamento of the cohesion policy, the way it is implemented, the way it is seen, the way it can promote and help communities to overcome the challenges they are faced of, maybe we should think about that. Maybe we should work on that. Because there are two situations where regions, cities, and towns demonstrated that they can use cohesion policy to address immediate needs, the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. So let's take on those lessons and see how we can have a better cohesion policy, but still have a cohesion policy after 2027. The third idea is about the Committee of the Regions itself. The way we perform our responsibility and our duty. And the way we perform our responsibility and our duty is as a political assembly. Sometimes the name induces misconception about our role. We are not exactly a committee of 7, 9 people that decide. No. We have here representatives from we represent around 1 million elected representatives from all across Europe. Hundreds of regions, cities, towns, villages across Europe. And this means something from the political point of view. Because you cannot, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, say the Committee of the Regions is very important. It's the third, the local and regional authorities represent one of the levels of the European democracy. And then on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays say, well, but we don't want to improve its profile. No, I think it's time to recognize that the Committee of the Regions, for its function, what it represents, who it represents, is a political assembly.